When I told the club I wanted to open a tea house, they said I lost my edge. I followed my dreams, because I knew I'd be covered. Pass the rose hips, please. Effort in it?
Yeah, 1 2 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Mic check, mic check.
Kelsey Ballerini, the ACM and CMA award winner, live.
Danny, I'm Danny.
15th
Check.
Florida Center.
Today.
Kelsey Ballerini with special guests Maisie Peters and Marin Taylor. Tickets on sale now at kelseyballerini.com. Don't miss Kelsey Ballerini live.
For every three-pointer the Blazers make this season, Daimler Trucks and Friends of Trees will plant 3 trees. Let's take a look at tonight's Threes for Trees summary brought to you by Daimler Trucks. As you guys know by now, 18 whopping three-pointers for the Trailblazers tonight for 54 trees planted. On the season as a whole, 747 trees planted. By the way, this is the third time this season the Blazers have had 18 three-pointers. Taking a look at the numbers tonight, 18 of 31 again, absolutely incredible. Anthony Simons, 6 of 8. Shaden, 2 of 6. Tumani was incredible, 5 of 7. But yeah, that third quarter from Anthony Simons, one I will remember for a long time. Let's hear from Ant right now.
Your thoughts on the game, obviously, when I guess you guys wish you could have got, but a very close game throughout.
Yeah, I think we played well. We started off a little sloppy in the beginning, just a couple of coverages we wasn't, locked in on, and but we were still in the game at halftime, and we stood everything, gave ourselves a chance to win the game. That's all you can ask for, but obviously it hurts knowing that like there's a couple instances where the team could have did a little better.
Sure.
Was it frustrating for you to have the foul trouble that you had in the first half, especially in retrospect, seeing what you did in the third quarter?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think kind of the getting the foul trouble made me fresh for the second half a little bit since sitting out. So, yeah, obviously, getting in foul trouble, it was just unfortunate. I couldn't really I wasn't really upset about it. It was just unfortunate. I knew that it was a long game. It happened at halftime. I got another half to be able to still impact the game. So I didn't really get frustrated in the first half, and then obviously that led to me, having a big third quarter.
When you are on a heater like that in the third quarter, how soon into it do you kind of realize, okay, this is one of those?
Probably after you see 3 shots go in a row, then all right. Especially the way they go in, you kind of shooting them and they go in. It's a pretty clean make, and after that you're just all right. You better test to see if I'm hot, and just kept shooting. Got a couple wide open looks. They left me, and it just went on from there.
When they started sending doubles at you, how much were you trying to balance, taking heat checks versus, making the extra pass?
You just finding different times where maybe they kind of not being as aggressive. They're there, but they're not there. But then there was one I shot kind of deep in between. I was like, all right, this goes in, then I don't know. That's probably the best heat I've ever been on. But if they really intentional about getting the ball out of my hands, and I'll most likely just get it out. You know what I mean? We got a lot of good looks off of that as well.
So you would say that's better than the heater he went on against Denver a few years ago. Do you remember that game?
Man.
Was that here or there?
It was here. It was here. I think the crowd. I don't know. I can't remember. I feel like the crowd was louder though, because it was I know I got on the heater today, but the one against Denver, it was literally like back to back to back to back to back to back to back. It wasn't couple possession, maybe one possession, and I come back down and get a 3. That one was because it was I just hit 4, 5 straight threes in a row. But obviously they're both great.
It's got to be disappointing to shoot 58% from both the field and from 3 and lose the game. I mean, that can't happen very often.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, I think we played great. There's a couple of things that we can get better at and shore up. But like I said, it's hard to when especially me getting in foul trouble and Luka rolling like that, and now I'm in foul trouble, and now Luka already looking for me because I'm the shortest guy on the court. So. You know what I mean? And now I'm already in foul trouble, and now I'm all right, going to halftime. All right, I know for sure he calling me up now. Now I got 4 fouls, and so you gotta play off that. I'm just glad I got out a little bit and able to, even the score a little bit because I couldn't be as aggressive on defense as I wanted to.
When you picked up the 4th foul, it looked like you went up against the padding and you were upset. Were you upset because of the foul?
Yeah,
I couldn't tell if
it was a foul.
Okay.
No, I knew it was a foul. Yeah, somebody in the crowd was like, "Isn't that a foul on you?" I'm like, "It's not." I got a little excited for a second, but then I knew it was a foul on me. I was like, "Yep, I'm coming out." And so
After you picked up the third one, you kind of they were going to take you out and you kind of waved them off.
yeah, I'm like, "All right, I'm good." All right, that was a ticky-tacky one. And that's next play, literally, I get another foul. I'm like, "Damn, all right." You're fortunate.
Oh, Anthony, love him. Looking at his third quarter, I remind you, third quarter only, these numbers: 24 points, 8 of 9 from the field, 5 of 6 from 3. I love it when you can't remember which heater was better. That means you've arrived.
We had a few of them, right? But you said it. That's one quarter. That's not the game. You just tuned in. That's Anthony Simons in the third quarter.
Unreal. For more on Ant's crazy third, let's go ahead and bring in Tom Haberstroh. I'm sure has something pretty incredible after that amazing third quarter performance.
Yeah, look at these two names on the list for Blazers in franchise history, since 1996, I should say, who have had that kind of scoring inferno in one single quarter. It is 6th in Blazers history since 1996. Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum are the only ones who have gotten hotter in a quarter in the scoring column, other than what we saw from Anthony Simons tonight with 24 points, 5 of 6 shooting from downtown. And I want to point this out too, is this guy, Anthony Simons, he's shooting 54% from 3. Since we talked about that, Brooke, the fact that he had a 15-game shooting slump, he is now shooting 54% from downtown since that 15-game slump in which he was shooting under 30%. So what you see from Anthony Simons is that confidence, stepping into basically a double team and knocking it down, nothing but net. Anthony Simons is one of those guys that when he catches fire, just get out of the way. And here you see Jeremy Grant recognizing, hey, I got to get him the rock. And of course, he hits it right in Maxi Kleber's face there. And what we're seeing here now, Anthony Simons, 24 points, is the second highest, tying with Anthony Edwards, another Ant, and Russell Westbrook for the most points in a quarter this season. And Greek Freak, who's an MVP candidate this year, is the only one who's outdone Anthony Simons. So that was incredible. Just a wild game in general. And I want to point this out too, Brooke. There were no blocks in this game. The Blazers didn't have one, and the Mavericks didn't have one. That's the first time in 35 years that the Blazers have been in a game in which there were 0 blocks. So, I don't know. There are so many statistical oddities in this one, and I got to say, MVP goes to you, Michael Holton. Once again, picking up the slack. Great job again tonight.
Playing hard, running fast, taking one for the team. But on that block thing, don't know Donovan Clingan.
Exactly.
So that's all I'm going to say about the block party.
That's what I was thinking, too. But when he comes back, the streak continues. Thank you so much, Tom. Appreciate it. So you heard some amazing numbers from Tom there about Ant's third quarter. Looking at those people that he was compared against with Damian, CJ, and then Anthony, which makes perfect sense. But when you see a quarter like that, again, with 5 fouls, just how incredible was it to see?
It was incredible because the defense wasn't asleep at the wheel. I mean, Ant said, and I loved it. He
What's
said,
that?
You know, they doubled. They were there, but they weren't really there, right? And so then I shot it anyway, right? I mean, his youthful exuberance in creating the narrative around how he got to 24 and a quarter was just as entertaining as the 24 itself.
I know. Love an Anthony Simons smile, even after a loss. Love it. All right, time now for our picture of the night from our very good friend, Bruce Ely. He provides this tonight. Ooh, Tumani flying high. That's a beaut there. You like that, Michael?
Oh, that's nice. That's being at the mountaintop all alone.
What a view. I will never know. Never know. When we come back, as you guys know, Game 4 of the Emirates NBA Cup is next from Los Angeles. The team heads down there tomorrow for a very important game. Some scenarios. There's still a chance, is what we're saying. There's still a chance they could win their 3rd NBA Cup game against LA. All right, get ready, Rip City. Cyber Monday is tomorrow, December 2nd, and it's time to score our biggest deals of the year. Stock up on gear for all the Trailblazers fans in your life. Get 35% off site-wide at ripcityclothing.com.
This year, I just want our group to continue to be connected.
You know, we have a foundation of guys that we're really excited about. A lot of untapped potential.
We have a great team with great, unselfish basketball players and people that know how to play the game.
We're hoping to see a really connected group that share the ball, play with joy, play with connectivity. Something that we're really excited about and proud that we're building.
Hey!
Once in a while, we all want to go wild. We just need a little help. Meet a little help. The 2024 Ford Bronco Sport Wild Edition goes over any terrain, so you can go all out. Get a wild deal on a Bronco Sport today. Lease a 2024 Bronco Sport Wild Edition with no down payment for $399 a month for 36 months. Only at your local Ford dealer.
It's like finding a guide to climb a mountain.
We're almost there.
Who makes you want to climb it again. It's like the local you ask for directions, who recommends the best meal of the trip. Or it's the health advocate who speaks to your heart.
He's struggling.
At Moda Health, more than anything, we can help. We're here to guide you, to simplify the complex, and ease the stress of managing your health.
I love it.
So let us lead you to the answers, and let yourself experience better.
At Umpqua Bank, a business loan is about more than the loan. It's about how that loan helps a business expand, and how that expansion inspires more new businesses to open, and how those new businesses can create someone's dream job, and how that dream job can open the door to a 1927 Craftsman with a backyard and a nursery for a baby boy named Cooper. Umpqua Bank, when businesses grow, everyone thrives.
You know you want a burger, so make it my Smash Jack. Rated the best burger in fast food. It's even got more beef than a Big Mac. Chin up, Ronald. Maybe you'll get a participation trophy. My Smash Jack, now on sourdough. Welcome to Jack in the Box.
All right, the NBA Cup, fourth and final game of it in the West Group A standings coming up as your Blazers take on the Clippers from LA. Taking a look at these standings right now, Blazers at 2-1, Rockets sit atop at 3-0. Essentially, it's coming down to the wild card, which will be two between the Blazers, Phoenix, OKC, and Dallas. And of course, point differential plays a very large role in that. So, as I mentioned, team heading to LA for this NBA Cup game against the Clippers. This is exciting. This really could mean something, Michael.
Yeah, you kind of control your own destiny. You look at those standings. If the Blazers beat the Clippers and they're 3-1, they're going to be in the money, so to speak.
Literally. But this is a fun thing. I know that we've talked to Coach a lot about it. He absolutely loves NBA Cup play, and I think you like it too, but it just adds a little extra layer to these games.
Yeah, and the players understand it, I think, better than we do in terms of what's at stake and how you get there and how much money you make and just the point differential. It just engages the players early in the season in a way that they have not been engaged in years gone by.
And it's love for the game.
Yeah, it's love for that money. It's love for that pot. It's love for that cup, Brooke. For the love of money.
Oh, for the love of money and basketball. Well, tough one for the Blazers, but wow, what a game tonight. The final 137-131. Some pretty incredible performances by a lot of the guys, obviously, specifically Anthony Simons in that third quarter. He will bounce back as he always does. Ooh. This was a fun one, Michael. Highlights all over the place. No blocks, which thanks to Tom, I did not know that. And just a fun one to watch. Just fun to sit back and relax and watch.
I enjoyed it. A game that had, I don't want to do the math, 33 and 29. I think that's 62?
Sure.
Assists combined by both teams. A lot of helpers.
A lot of helpers, a lot of threes. Like I said, if you liked offense, you enjoyed this one tonight. Blazers look to bounce back against the Clippers on Wednesday, the final 137-131. Everyone bundle up. It's cold out there. We'll see you guys in 2 days.
This has been a Blazers Broadcasting Sports presentation.
This is our home. I see trees of green. The one thing we all have in common. Red roses too. A world full of life. I see them bloom for living life. Me and you. Constantly changing.
You're invited to a very special evening, a John Legend Christmas.
It's the Rip City Wrap-Up, brought to you by Dick Hanna Subaru. Believe in nice. Here are your hosts, Tyree Smith, Danny Marang, and Joe Simons.
Despite a season-high 131 for the Portland Trail Blazers, it was not enough as the Mavericks take care of business 137-131. Hello, welcome in to the Rip City Wrap-Up. Danny, Joe, Tyree will be back with us on Tuesday. The holiday weekend can't be finished yet, Danny, because we have a lot to talk about tonight.
No, we've got plenty to talk about. Easily one of the most entertaining games of the season. Unfortunately, the Blazers
come the most.
No, I mean, it just when this game was coming up, it looked like Luka Doncic wasn't going to play. Kyrie Irving played last night in Utah. He was out tonight. And I was sitting there going, Luka's warming up. I don't know which way this is going to go. We get the update that Luka's going to go. I'm like, all right. Like, look, selfishly, folks, I want to see Luka Doncic play.
If you are in that arena, you want to see Luka Doncic play. A lot of the attraction, especially as we move later on in the season, is going to be the star of the opposing team.
Yeah, I mean, when the Memphis Grizzlies came to town and Ja Morant wasn't ready to go, I haven't seen him play in a couple of years because of his own stupid choices. I was disappointed. I'm like, I want to watch one of the best and most impressive young players in the league go at it. Luka starts out a little bit slow, and then he puts on a show. I mean, then he
took 6 minutes.
Yeah, Scrub couldn't even put a triple-double up. But, I mean, you just watch how he plays, and the level that he plays at is so incredible. Like, the number of times I'm sitting in press row that I just kind of giggle at stuff that he does, the way he dictates the game. And I thought Toumani Camara, Jeremy Grant, Ryan Repair, everybody they threw at Luka gave him like levels of resistance.
Yes.
Like, two did an incredible job of just taking away his airspace, and the stuff that he hit was just.
There was one in the paint when he had it cooking in the third quarter where two was all over him, and Luka in complete control, fadeaway, foot out, cash, and he just jogs back laughing like, I know everyone hates you, and you're one of the premier young defenders in the league, but I'm Luka Doncic. It doesn't matter.
And they started, I don't know if you guys caught it, they started chirping a little bit. I think it was actually after that play, Luka gave him one of these, came down, and the Mavs were hiding Luka defensively. They went into a zone. They put him in the opposite corner. Two hits a three, and two kind of gave him the finger gun back. Like, I was like, all right, young fella, you're not backing down from this. That's pretty impressive. And even though the Blazers fall in this game, I think the thing that I took away from this game is that none of the Blazers backed down.
No.
Like, there was some incredible shot making, not only from Luka, from P.J. Washington, Spencer Dinwiddie hit
Quentin Grimes.
I mean, Dinwiddie had an 18-foot floater. That's not a shot in most people's bags.
Yeah, like from the wing, too. It was like a really awkward
45 angle
big
slot.
shot put, and it's like, oh my,
and
if you're making that, what are you going to do with that?
That's literally what I said. I go, if he's hitting that, there's not much you can do.
I mean, looking at it, Danny, the Blazers go 58% from three. They're 58% from the field. They make 15 of 18 free throws, and it's just the turnovers. The turnovers came
21
early, and they came often. That coupled with Ant being in foul trouble, it's tough to say that it's not enough when you put up 131. But there was, yes, you mentioned just before we went on, there was some Olay defense in there
from both sides.
But for the most part, this was just a well-played basketball game with excellent offense as opposed to terrible defense.
Yeah, 33 assists for the Mavericks, 29 assists for the Trailblazers, and it wasn't. Assists are kind of a weird stat because the ball needs to go in, and sometimes you can play make and set guys up, and
it's
guys
not
don't
indicative
hit
of
shots.
how good the passes are.
No, exactly. But I thought the passing from both teams was tremendous tonight. I think the best place to start, honestly, is beginning of this game. You know, makes sense to start from the beginning.
Sure.
But for the second game in a row, Anthony Simons started a little slow, and not in the sense of like putting his foot down. And it sounds kind of sacrilegious to say this but Ant found a way to work himself into the game, very reminiscent of the way that Damian Lillard used to, which was, hey, let me facilitate, let me get other guys going, let me take my time. The problem was he picked up those fouls. He picks up his third foul in the second quarter.
The third one he was so demonstrative about, and he kind of rested on the stanchion because he could tell, this is getting into danger territory. And then he picks up the fourth.
Well, he looks at Chauncey,
yes.
and he puts his hand. No, Nate Bjorkgren runs up to Chauncey. Hey, this is Ant's third. Ant goes, I got this. The next possession, Ant picks up his fourth, and you just go, ugh. The good news at that point, though, was the Blazers were right there. I mean, everybody. Da was contributing. He was finishing, even though he had some turnovers. He was scoring. Jeremy Grant was scoring. Denny Avdia was scoring. Like, the scoring punch was not lacking, as it were. Even though the Blazers were down 4 at half, that third quarter, both teams score 39. And we got treated to one of the best individual quarters in Trailblazers history.
Ant Simons at 24.
24 points. The Trailblazers record is 28 for CJ McCollum against the Chicago Bulls in 2018, where he had 51 points and I want to say 28 minutes. It was absolutely bonkers.
CJ-like.
Absolutely insane. It was Anthony Simons' fourth or fifth, I can't remember which one it was, 20-point quarter in his career.
And to your credit, I still remember being in a different place with you. And we were in the room where we all kind of hang out and watch the games. And it was the night that Ant got drafted. Mm-hmm. And you were arguing with Chad Dewing about Ant's ceiling as a scorer. And you, in your Marang way, very gently, said Anthony Simons can score 20 points in a quarter.
Yeah.
And then he did it. And now he's done it 3 more times. Yeah. And I want to get to
it's a rare feat. Like, to
be
able to score the way that he scored. I mean,
right.
He didn't touch anything but the bottom of the net.
And that's what he just said in the little locker room scrum there, was basically like, Heiken asked him, all right, when do you know it's one of those? And he said, it usually takes about 3 shots. And he mentioned how the ball was going in the hoop, how it was going in very clean. And it's like, all right, this is a little bit different than it usually is.
He took 3 heat checks and ripped the net. I mean, he had, look at the shot.
The final one was out of control. I mean, that was like a few steps inside a half court.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the kind of thing. Look, he's not on the level of Dame in his career, and he's not on the level of Steph in his career, clearly. When he gets hot, he is that kind of quarter scorer, though. Like, when he gets hot, there are very few players in the NBA that get as hot as he does. And it is a zone that 10, 15 guys in the NBA in a 10-year period can get to. And that's just fun to watch. I mean, like, him and Luka were just trading insane haymakers.
It was really fun. It was really fun to watch, Dan.
Neither were missing.
Right.
It was just absolutely bonkers. Ant finishes with 24. Unfortunately, picks up that 5th, and you go, oh, you got to be kidding me. And so he's got to sit for an extended period.
And the 4th just gets off to the ugliest start imaginable before he checks in. Chauncey's like, I've seen enough. Gets him in with about 8 minutes left to go. And then literally 2 seconds later, he picks up the 6th. And it's one of those plays where it's like, oh, my God.
And I don't fault him, because if he doesn't go for that ball, it's a clean rebound for Dwight Powell. And everyone's going, why are you doing this? Da-da-da-da. Look, Ant fouling out tonight, he'll be the first one to tell you he screwed up tonight. The thing that I take away from this is, over the last couple of games, you've seen a different Anthony Simons, how he's attacking, how he's going about the game. But even more than that, the defensive intensity. He's trying to be aggressive. He's getting steals. He's getting deflections, diving on the floor for loose balls.
I feel like that Houston game where he had and Dylan Brooks is known to do this, had a little dust up on the sideline, and he came in and he was getting in Dylan's face and he was kind of smiling. That kind of seemed to be a switch flip for Ant. Everything is sort of change on the defensive end, and it's led into more confidence on the offensive end.
Yeah, I talked to Ant after the team meeting.
After the Memphis game.
Yeah, after the Memphis game. And one of the things he told me was, regardless of what's happening, I just need to do what I need to do, in the sense of, like, I can't force stuff. I can't sit here and go, all of this burden is on my shoulders. Like, I need to find a way to trust guys more. I have to make the right play, and even if they don't convert it, I have to trust that it's the right play over and over and over again.
Well, it's so easy because Ant is not a very vocal guy.
No.
Right? He's very introspective, but what's sort of ironic about that is it's very easy to tell what's going on with Ant from his face.
Yeah.
He's a quiet, introspective guy, but he has no poker face,
No.
right? You can see when the big smile is going. Yeah. You can see when he's been a little hangdog. So it's like there's really no mystery with Ant Simons' mood. And something I want to get to, let's get to the Blazer box real quick. I tweeted out that, hey, for those of you who were saying that Ant Simons, the Blazers are better with him off the floor, I kind of whacked the hornet's nest a little bit, because we've seen a vocal minority have that opinion. And this is the response we get. Still doesn't change the fact that his skills don't translate to winning games. Great offensive player, but shouldn't be part of the franchise's long-term plans. Other players might be worse, but the verdict is out long-term. Prioritize Scoot Shea. So I understand that. And all of the love we give Anthony Simons, it doesn't necessarily mean that we think he is a part of the Blazers' 5-year plan.
No.
Right? We're talking about tonight. And what I mean by that, when he's better on the floor for the Blazers, is not just tonight, but also for the development. Because Ant Simon's third quarter led to the late game situations that a young player like Shaedon Sharpe was in. And I asked you before we started, hey, I was a little surprised that Shea was on ball. We're talking about the situation where the Blazers were down 3 after Dinwiddie made the free throws with like 33 seconds left. Shea takes the ball up the court. He tries to split 2, and I was a little surprised Denny wasn't the primary ball handler. Either way, it's important that Shea have that specific situation. If he does that when they're down 20 in the third quarter, who cares? But for him to feel that specific situational pressure is very important to his maturation and development. And that situation was in play because of how excellent Ant was in the third quarter.
In that third quarter, Shaedon Sharpe was 3 for 8 in the first half. And you didn't really feel it other than he had that one putback where he just came out of nowhere. That was the price of admission putback, I called it. It was like he just
out of nowhere too,
and just came over the top, packed it quick, and I was like, oh, hello. But Shea kind of sat back, and
he did.
When Ant's in foul trouble, that's the space that Shea's got to fill, particularly when you don't have Scoot out there, and that's what you're looking for from Shaedon. Ant has that 24-point quarter. I want to say Ant scored 16 in the third and also had 3 assists. He accounted for every single point at that point from the Trailblazers in the third quarter, either creating or scoring himself. And all of a sudden, Dallas calls a timeout after one of Ant's threes. And Jason Kidd, you can tell, we got to do something. This guy's going nuclear. So they come out in the zone and they start trapping Ant immediately. All of a sudden, there's a pocket of space. Ant hits DA on the roll. DA catches, finds Shaedon Sharpe cutting back door for a dunk. And you're like, there you go. Now Shea finds another cut. Got more space to work with. Shea takes the ball and attacks himself. More space to work with. And that's when we talked about the beginning of the season, where the offense was going to come from and why it was going to be designed a certain way. When Anthony Simons, look, I'm not asking for 24 points a quarter. I'm just saying when he's going,
fun.
Yeah. But when he's going and being the guy that we expect him to be offensively, the space that creates in between allows a guy like Shaedon, whose handle is still not quite there, whose creativity is still not quite there, but his ability, his God-given talent can really shine when a defender has to take, I don't think most fans understand that the one step further away that a defender has to take away from Shaedon and towards Anthony Simons, how valuable that one step is. That one step is the difference between Shaedon getting to the rim and getting trapped, or the rotation coming over. One step is the difference between basically every basket.
Well, let's talk about Shea, because obviously he did get involved in the fourth quarter and he wasn't effective from behind the line, but he did find a little bit of rhythm going to that mid-range. And I think that's something I would like Shaedon to go to a little bit more. He feels very comfortable doing it, and if it's not there at the rim, if the threes aren't falling, we'll get to the step-back threes in a second. I do think the mid-range is a really good spot for Shea to fill it up a little bit and get his confidence, and that's exactly what happened tonight.
No, with Chauncey Billups following the game and post-game last game, one of the things I asked him about was kind of like Shaedon's development and kind of figuring things out, and he said Shea over-attacked a couple times. And you can over-attack. You can get too deep into the paint if they're putting a lot of bodies, and you have to be able to pull up.
Yep.
You have to get to the what I call the Chris Paul zone. You get to the free throw line extended, those elbows, and pull up from that. And that's a shot that Shaedon Sharpe could hit. This is kind of a very specific thing, but if Shaedon Sharpe stops and elevates straight up, it's probably going to be a good shot. But if you see him kind of have a forward tilt to his shot, it's because he's being indecisive. It's like,
Are you talking about from 3 specifically, or anywhere on the floor?
Just any of his pull-ups.
Okay.
If you see him kind of have a forward tilt, he's thinking about attacking, but he's like, I'm going to take the shot. But when he sits down, gets his hips underneath him, and elevates straight up, his jumper's good. And I'll get to it now. Shaedon Sharpe is currently shooting 16% on pull-up jumpers. That's horrendous.
So just clarify that a little bit. Pull-up jumpers versus a regular jumper.
Yeah, so catch and shoot, ball hit hand, ball go up. Pull-up jumper, off the dribble, pull-up, shoot. 16%. That is atrocious, okay?
So basically when he's on his own, the ball's not flowing to him and he shoots. If he's kind of decided on an island, the effectiveness goes way down.
Plummets, because catch and shoot, he's 46%. That's like if you're shooting 40% on catch and shoot, you're doing good. You're shooting 45 plus. Now you're going into the great to elite category. And if he's getting 2.5, 3 catch and shoot looks a night, shooting 46% on them, love it. Don't want to change anything about it. And I'm not saying he can't shoot pull-ups. I'm saying his game needs to be predicated on get downhill, attack, make the defense work, and then your secondary shot is your catch and shoot. Your third shot is your pull-up. Like, that's the difference between really good and star or all-star is the ability to hit a pull-up 3. That's something he's got to figure out to work on it. But because I'll take this down a different path here. But in the pregame today, I asked Chauncey Billups about the Blazers' inability to finish in the paint. They lead the league in shots at the paint, but they're the worst finishing team. And I go, you've got 2 guys in Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson. One of them went from the EYBL, which for those that are unaware, it's the travel league, AAU for Nike, in high school. He didn't play in college. He practiced at Kentucky a little bit. I want to say he had 5 or 6 practices, and then he sat out.
Talking about Shea.
And Shaedon Sharpe.
Yeah.
Scoot Henderson played for 2 years on and off in the G League Ignite where there wasn't a ton of structure, and you don't have 7-footers really in the league at all. So you've got 6'8", 6'9" centers.
Raw is what you're saying.
Yes, and so you don't have – these guys don't have the experience of playing basically in a box, because if you watch college basketball right now, there's no spacing. Everybody's packing the paint, and if you learn how to score in the paint because there's nowhere to really work with it. And if that bit of development, they missed out on. And so they're doing it in the NBA, and you don't practice in the NBA now. Like, you very seldom do. And so Chauncey Billups said you have to simulate these 15-minute kind of, situations, but you have to really learn in the games. And that's where you see guys like Shaedon and Scoot, where both of them, and I don't want it just to be like a, poo-poo on Shaedon, because Scoot Henderson is shooting 14% on pull-up threes. So neither of them are, but they're also shooting incredibly well on catch and shoot. So you're starting to see levels of growth, but these are the things where on a night in, night out basis, it's going to, quote unquote, hurt them.
Yeah.
Right. The team.
And you're seeing enough of a sample size now to develop a pattern to understand where the success is and where it is not. We got plenty more to get to. We're going to talk about DA in just a little bit. But before we do, a word from our friends at Dick Hanna Subaru. They're all about making the car buying experience a pleasure. Not only does every new Subaru come with a lifetime powertrain warranty, but for a limited time, you also get 2 Mount Hood Fusion passes with your purchase or lease. Dick Hanna Subaru, they believe in nice. Visit today and see what makes them different. Wake up, Grandma, because it is time for a deep dive into a shallow topic. That's right, it's Trend BA. We got it on the Blazer box. Let's check it out. I don't know if you folks saw this matchup between the 2 best teams in the NBA record-wise, the Cavs and the Celtics, earlier today. Danny, I was treated to the final 34 seconds of real time. It's 17 minutes of real time. And
is that good?
It's long. The reason I wanted to bring it up is because it's a strategy in a late game situation that I don't see employed to this degree. So the Cavaliers essentially had a 3-point lead with about 30 seconds left. And whenever Boston inbounded it and got it into the front court, they would foul immediately and not allow Peyton Pritchard, who was very hot at that point, or anyone else on the floor, to attempt a 3 to tie the game.
Gunk it up.
And that happened 5 times. And they were able to do it. There was no even shot attempt. They locked it down. The Cavs made their free throws. And even though it was interminable to watch, it was the right strategy. And I'm just curious why more teams don't do this when they're up 3 in really any scenario. Is it because the aptitude of the team has to be high enough to recognize the situation, or is it just coaches are stuck in the Stone Age?
Can I present option number 3?
I can't wait.
3-letter word. Ego.
We can stop it. We don't have to foul. That's insane.
We're not going to do that. We're not going to give them the opportunity, because what if? Because it's much easier to not be the paradigm shift. If you're the paradigm shift and, and it doesn't go your way,
you're losing with conventional wisdom.
You can, hey, we did what we're supposed to do, but the ego forces that. And look, I mean, that was the case for 20 years with the 3-point shot. You've got to score in the paint. You've got to score in the paint. You've got to be post up. And then Daryl Morey said, "But why?" And
let's look at an alternative.
Let's Jack
And look what he's done to our beautiful NBA.
But the math was
Yeah.
very clear. We don't have enough data to really drive that point home because there's not enough people doing it.
Sure.
The other alternative is, you could get Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Dylan Brooks getting in a quasi-kerfuffle to end a game 2. No way, Dylan Brooks getting
Can you believe it?
in something. Like,
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, it's just something I always consider in a late game situation. I think it's something really interesting to discuss, and it's interesting that the guy who is right at the top of the Coach of the Year standings, and Kenny Atkinson, was the one for Cleveland employing this, and it led to a victory over Boston.
Tell you what, if you got in at plus 2,500 for Kenny Atkinson Coach of the Year, you're doing pretty good.
Know anyone who did that? Hey, we got something on the tweet machine. Before we get to DA, let's talk about a Blazer who did not play tonight. Donovan Clingan. We have a question about DC. Blazers almost had it, showing good progress, though. Really missing Kling, Kong, no blocks. Think we win if he played. Well, I wasn't tagged, Danny, so I'm not going to answer this.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say because it was such a perimeter-oriented game. Look, Jason Kidd and Luka Doncic are like, you can say what you want about either of those guys. You're talking about maybe 2 of probably like the 5 smartest basketball players to literally ever play the game. Those guys see the game in a way it's like 5D chess. If Donovan Clingan was on the floor, you know what Luka Doncic would have done? Bring me Donovan Clingan. He would have called him like, the game ended with Luka Doncic saying, bring me Shaedon Sharpe. And they just screened and screened and screened until Shaedon Sharpe got up there because he looked around the floor and said, who's the weakest here? Who can I attack?
It's like the scene in The Waterboy where they have the onside kick and he looks for the guy shaking and then he kicks it at that guy.
Yes, that's 100%. And look, I mean, that guy has been Anthony Simons in the past because what Luka will do is he'll look at, all right, where's the advantage? Like, there's guys that are bigger, there's guys that are stronger, there's guys that are faster, there's guys that are quicker. He'll look at it and go, how do I want to beat somebody? And he'll look at Shaedon and go, I got 70 pounds on you. Good luck. And he'll just lean into him, and that's what he did. He leaned into him, forced the rotation, hit a pass over to the backside to Dinwiddie, hit a pass over the backside to Gafford the lobs that Luka Doncic threw to Daniel Gafford tonight.
Yes.
They could not have been more inch perfect.
Extraordinary. And watching that as a Blazers fan, where lobs have been a problem for a while now, it's just like, I know it's Luka, and it's so specific, and the level of excellence
40 feet
is so high.
Yes.
But you watch it, and it looks so easy, and you're like, well, just
do what he does.
Do that. It's like the old joke of why Michael Jordan was never like a coach, because he would say, just go do what I do.
Doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
No, Luka is
different.
Andre Miller, to me, is still the best lob passer of all time, but Luka's probably number 2. It's just like...
Way to get back in the good graces of the people out there. Dropping Andre Miller. People love it.
Look.
I love Andre, too.
Andre Miller's one of my favorite point guards of all time. And maybe one of these days we'll talk about how I think that's the path that Scoot Henderson needs to take. But...
we'll have time later this season. Don't worry. We'll have time.
It'll be there. But the way Luka manipulates a defense is truly, truly incredible. And as much as the Mavs put up 137 points tonight, like you said, there was some Olay defense, but I didn't feel like this was a Blazers team that rolled over or got too caught up in playing offense.
No.
I think it was a game where the shot making was just trying. The third quarter from Ant alone, go back and watch the Mavs defense. It's not like he's snatching souls. He's just pulling up from 35 feet.
A lot of the shots that were hit from both teams in that quarter, and really in the second half altogether, were contested.
Yes.
It's not like they were wide open shots. Like,
I mean, how many shots did Luka take with a hand not in his face?
Basically all of them. All of his shots had a hand in his face, pretty much.
I mean, there was sitting next to a scout from the Hornets tonight, and we were both laughing.
Yeah. What can you do?
We were talking about Tumani Kamara, and by the way, people around the league are noticing. He was in agreement. Tumani Kamara should get love for all defense. He won't because not enough people are watching.
We're on late, and
it's a rebuilding team on the
team.
West Coast in Portland. It is what it is. But this is the year where he builds the resume.
Sure.
Gets the noise kind of
This is
going.
the real ones know year. And then going into next year, the narrative is already there. Because so much of this is narrative-based. But to that point, he leads the league in charges now.
Yes, he does.
Charges
I've been tracking that. Yeah.
Top 10 in steals. Like, even though defensive stuff, a lot of it is intrinsic and you have to actually watch. It's not like scoring. We can just be like, oh, look what this guy's doing. He's having 30 points a game. With 2, some of the numbers are there. Right?
The numbers
you
that
can,
are
you can actually
yes.
point to it.
Yeah, and it's like there's the Shane Battier was the box score plus minus all-star in the sense of he didn't have a ton of blocks or steals. Like, he had a decent amount of stocks, but it wasn't like he's out there like Dyson Daniels is this year, where he's tripling the next guy in deflections. You know, I need to check it, but Dyson Daniels was literally on pace to have over 500 deflections on the season. I believe the most ever was 302.
That's pretty good.
So
it's pretty good.
Like,
they got some fun stuff happening down there.
No, I mean, I'm sure he's glad to get out of New Orleans.
Yes,
Yikes,
no
dog.
question. Usually people are. Well, that's the center that is on the bench, one of two, unfortunately, because they're injured. Let's talk about the center who played tonight, Deandre Ayton. And there was a lot of good stuff, but I want to focus on early in the game because a lot of the Blazers' 8 turnovers in the first quarter was trying to force feed DA because there was a high degree of success. But it appeared to me, and he's got, the dinged up hand, that unless the pass was perfect, DA
which they struggle with.
They did. There was the spacing wasn't great a few times with him and Denny, and unless the pass was perfect, it kind of went off his hand and it led to a live ball turnover, which is how Dallas was able to kind of stick around in that first quarter because Portland could have had it's tough to watch the Blazers play a team like Dallas and be disappointed with a first quarter lead, but it felt like Portland could have been up by 12 to 15 in that first quarter if they hung on to the basketball.
Yeah, the Blazers had 8 turnovers in the first quarter. I think is what they ended up with, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And they gave up 13 points off turnovers.
And Dallas only had 25 at the quarter.
Half their points came off turnovers.
Yeah.
Like, that's tough.
It's a problem, and it's something Portland has fought at times this season.
Yeah, and honestly, everyone took turns in that first quarter.
Yeah.
The first quarter, Denny had 3 turnovers. D.A., Delano, Jeremy, Shaden, and Ant all had a turnover. It's like everybody was contributing to that mess. And you're right. The Blazers probably could have had a 40-point first quarter and had a pretty sizable lead had they taken care of the ball. But those are also the hallmarks of a young team. And yes,
Sure.
DA's the older guy, but both DAs, Denny Avdia is still trying to find his space entirely, particularly playing with the other DA, Deandre Ayton. They're developing a little bit of chemistry, but they also, we've talked about this a few times, they occupy kind of the same space, and it's not entirely clunky, but it's not great yet either.
It's not like him and Rob.
No, because Rob
Rob
just kind of flows around, where DA's kind of on railroad tracks. Like, he's gonna be in the same places where Rob will kind of float in and out of certain spaces. I think the big change is for Denny in particular, knocking down threes. Like there's
2 of 4 tonight.
Again, if he's doing that, it does allow those guys to play a little bit differently with each other.
I mean, we just got to say it. Denny had 21 off the bench tonight, and despite the 4 turnovers, he also had 2 assists, 4 rebounds, and a steal. 7 of 12 from the field overall. So, sensational night off the bench for Denny.
The crazy thing is, if I told you the Blazers won the rebounding battle and not a single player had more than 8 rebounds, would you believe it?
It's pretty crazy.
Like, that's a weird stat, right?
It is.
Like, Tumani Kamara was the leading rebounder for the Trailblazers with DA tonight.
So what, you had 6 guys with at least 4 rebounds. Yeah, wow, look at that. And 6 guys with at least 3 assists too.
Yeah, it's like you go up and down. Like, this is where I want to like highlight and compliment particularly Ant. Last couple games, Ant's typically just been a points assist guy. He'll get a couple rebounds here or there. He's had a couple contested rebounds. He's had some steals. And like, he's finding ways, even when he's not scoring early in games. I look up and I'm like, Ant's got a few other notches on the belt. You know, it's like that's different. That's new, and it's impactful. I think it's becoming a little contagious. You see Shaden Sharp getting in there. Shaden has had like 1 rebound a game over the last 3 games, where his shoulder is above everybody else's like fingertips, and you're like, where did he come from?
Yeah, he's like floating underneath the net and just sort of grabbing it out of nowhere.
Yeah, and you're just like, like the putback.
Yes.
It was just like, where did that? Like, it didn't even look like it.
It's otherworldly.
You guys are watching on TV. I'm in the arena, and I didn't see him come into the picture. Like,
Brad.
Like, well, no, I'm saying like,
No, I know.
But I mean, like, sometimes in the camera angles, a guy can come from a long way out, and you're just like, oh my God, that was crazy. I'm sitting there watching the action, and I'm like, where did he come from?
And it still looks crazy.
That's the thing is, I don't want this to be like a poo-poo on DeAndre. There was a couple times tonight, and I think this is not even a DeAndre thing. It's a Blazers thing in general. They basically have kind of carte blanche to crash the offensive glass because they're a very, very, very good offensive rebounding team. But there was probably 3 or 4 times that both 2 and DA hit the offensive glass. 0% chance of grabbing the board. And they had 2 guys back under the rim hitting the offensive glass.
Like it was on like a long shot, like a 3?
Anything. I mean, just they were just crashing the glass for the offensive rebound, which again, it's part of what those two particularly 2 do. But they were both doing it sometimes at the same time, and now they only got 3 defenders back. Their floor balance is completely out of whack, and Dallas went, thanks.
So you just need one of them to crash the offensive glass so the other can get back defensively, and we're still spacing the floor.
Or at least have a better understanding of the way. Like there was one where I saw DA, I'm like, you got a 0% chance of grabbing that. Like you got to be smarter than that. Like you are a smarter and better player than that. And like those are the kind of things that when they go watch the film tomorrow, they will watch back and go, look, we all have the ability and the willingness to go get those. You got to be better than that here, because when you look at this game in the margins, that's where this game was lost.
Well, I'm going to take the flip side, sort of. DA is being asked to do a whole hell of a lot right now.
You don't want to rein him in too much.
No. That's the thing is, I'll take the warts with the version that we're getting of DA.
Yes.
I will, because you're getting so much offensively, you're getting defensive rebounding, you're getting a pretty good effort defensively, and for him to go up and down the court with the pace that this team plays, and he's the only option at the 5, it's a big ask.
And he's playing basically 32 minutes.
Yeah.
Look, and I have appreciated him when I've been trying to push, like, hey, DA is trying to do things differently. Like he's trying to screen harder,
right.
He's rolling harder, he's being more active, he's attacking the offensive glass. He finishes the night with 2 offensive rebounds tonight, 3 assists too. Got a couple, like again, the 5 turnovers is too much, but working in the short roll and finding guys, like just little things that he's been criticized for not doing in his career over the last couple of years. And I think he's trying to both change that and grow. And so, yes, you live with some of those mistakes. When this isn't a season that they're going to be judged on wins and losses.
No.
That's not. I mean, the front office made that abundantly clear when we opened the season. We had media day. Joe Cronin was asked, how do you judge this season? It's development. And I think that's development of a guy like Deandre Ayton. Even it's development of Robert Williams. It's the veterans and the young guys.
Yes, because success for veterans means success for future
contracts.
But also success of the Blazers, because yes, even though you know what you have in a Deandre Ayton or an Anthony Simons in terms of what a team is going to be attracted to about that potential acquisition, you can get better. You can get better, but you can also be marginally better. Like if you're on a hot streak going into a transaction rather than a cold streak, that has to have a little bit of influence on what the GM can say. And I understand that you push back against that.
Yeah.
But even so,
you are kind of what you are.
True. But if Anthony Simons has, let's just say, I don't know, a 20-game stretch where he's averaging 32 points a game, and that is what he's doing going into a potential transaction.
Sure.
Yes, there is a bigger sample size that says he's something closer to a 22-a-game
But you also think
score.
maybe he could be this. And I think that's
right.
when you're talking about that, like not just Ant, but in general, it's if you do something long enough, like if let's say Ant's assist numbers stay up, 1 or 2, if his rebounding numbers, his rebound percentage stays up, and all of a sudden, look, Ant will be the first guy to tell you he's not a great defender. But if all of a sudden he goes from a guy who doesn't get steals at all to a guy who gets a steal and a half a game, that's a pretty sizable growth. And those are the kind of things where by the time you're Ant's age, you kind of are who you are.
Sure.
You're 25 years old, you are who you are. But you can tighten things down a little bit.
Yeah.
You can add a little
there could be
bit.
improvements to use one of your phrases in the margins.
Yes.
Oh, wow, he's averaging 1.5 more rebounds a game. There's 0.75 more steals than he usually does.
Yeah.
Just little tiny stuff that you can point to and say, all right, maybe there's a little bit more than we thought.
It covers up for some shortcomings in who you are and what you do. And I think those are the things that kind of matter.
It's always what really matters is keeping things in perspective with your Portland Trail Blazers. And if we can pull up the Blazer box real quick, and another quick Trend BA. Yeah, here we go. So things could always be worse. Your Washington Wizards, Denny Avdia's former team, finished the month of November with a bagel. 14 losses after losing to the Bucks on Saturday. So, Danny, things can always be worse.
This is what I always say to Blazers fans. Things can always be worse.
Yeah.
And look, 0-14 is bleeping
dreadful.
miserable.
To those of you who are saying we're winning too often, would you enjoy an 0-14 month?
There's a few sickos who are like, yeah, I would. That's what I want.
I don't believe a single one of those people. You have to be pathological to want to watch 82 losses over the course of a season. The NBA season is so long. It's the longest.
Yeah, no, I look. The Wizards are going the path of the 76ers here. They're going full process.
Godspeed.
And they may not get rewarded for it. I mean,
that's the flip side.
Alex Sarr is on a team get picked second because the Atlanta Hawks at the 10th spot moved up to number 1.
This is something that we're going to talk about a lot. But at the end of the day, the best case scenario for all of those of you who want the Blazers to go 0-82, that's not going to happen. So, 8-74. Right? That's pretty quick.
There you go. Look at you mathing.
14% is the ultimate prize. That is the ultimate prize. A 14.4% chance at the number 1 draft pick in Cooper Flag. So even if things go how people want it to go, which is there's a pile of development, the Blazers finished with one of the 3 worst records in the NBA, which earns you that 14.4% chance. That's all you have. That means there's an 86.6% chance you don't get the number 1 pick. And I know that that's what you have to do. You have to bottom out to get to the top of the mountain. That is the formula in the NBA, right or wrong. But I still think it's important that we keep that in the back of our mind. The best case scenario is 14.4%.
I mean, as it sits right now, the Trailblazers have the 13th worst record in the Western Conference. Like, they're
cool.
29, 28, 27, 26, 24th worst record in the NBA. And had they not picked up 2 wins against the Pelicans, not picked up 2 wins against the Timberwolves, like, again, there was, I mentioned this on the podcast last night. The Blazers have lost 10 games by double digits. They have won 2 games by double digits.
Oh, I thought it was 3 games.
I looked at it real quick. So maybe it was 3. But maybe my brain is also infecting my throat.
Yeah. Hey, how about a round of applause for Danny fighting through tonight?
We're trying.
God love him.
Yes, I sound like I smoked 3 packs of Marbreds. I know.
This is a long weekend for Dan.
I'm aware. It just keeps cracking. But like, they're 2 games above the Hornets, 2 games above the Raptors, 4 games above the 76ers. Like, over the next 60 games,
the math will math at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like, they picked up probably 4 wins that you wouldn't expect. 3 if you're being generous, 2 if you're like, that's fine. Because did anybody think that they were going to get both those games against Timberwolves?
So,
no.
Okay, the win expectation stuff.
Yeah.
This might be a tough question to answer on the spot, but given a game like tonight, are the Blazers expected to win this game because their shooting was so good, or do the turnovers whack it down? I know that they take everything into account when they do this, but this is an interesting test case where Portland scores 131, but I guess if you're giving up 137, like
that's the key right there. The outliers, right?
Sure.
So 4 factors tonight. The
4 factors time. Get your scorecard, everybody.
Trailblazers score 131 points. Their 129.7 is in the 95th percentile offensively. By far their best offensive performance of the season. Not particularly close. However, the Dallas Mavericks at 134.3 had a 98th percentile performance offensively.
That's going to hurt your defensive rating.
Incredible. The Blazers, 69%. Nice. 99th percentile. It is the second best shooting performance on the season from effective field goal percentage.
For everybody?
And they lost. Why? Because the Mavs were in the 97th percentile, right behind them. And here's the kicker. Trailblazers turnover percentage, 20.8, 9th percentile.
And again, low numbers, bad.
And then offensive rebounding, Blazers 63rd percentile, Mavs 43rd. So it's kind of a little bit of it's a nice win on the rebound rate, but not enough to conquer basically double the turnover rate. And then the free throw rate, Mavs are in the 85th percentile, the Blazers in the 42nd percentile. So again, those outliers, right? Like, yes, the Blazers had one of the best offensive nights in the league. The problem is they gave up like the 3rd best offensive night in the league to the Mavs.
I thought of a good bit for you. You know those social media accounts where it's like, did this happen today? And it's just no until it's yes. You should start, are the Blazers winning too many games? And you just put no for the entire season, because at no point do you think the Blazers have won too many games at least so far.
No.
And at no point do you anticipate the Blazers winning too many games to jeopardize their potential spoils in the future.
I jokingly said, Sean Highkin sits next to me at games. And I go, if they win tonight, they've won too many games.
Would you have come on this program and said this is too many?
Jokingly, yes. Because, here's the thing. For every game they win now, it is a little bit harder to compensate, right? Because...
Are you saying now 8 wins out of 21, 22?
At the further you go,
yeah,
it gets easier.
Sure, because it's a smaller sample size.
But the win number is always the one that you worry about. It's not the losses. It's like when you're talking about how many games a team has played kind of a deal, you look at the wins. The wins always matter more. And yes, you're looking at 2 teams, the Philadelphia 76ers and the New Orleans Pelicans. One of them, the Pelicans, they're pulling the plug.
They don't have a choice.
Look, Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson just changed agents.
Oh.
Yeah, Brandon Ingram went to Clutch.
Uh-oh.
So, make of that what you may. Zion Williamson is probably going to end up going to BDA, Philadelphia Agency, who also represents Anthony Simons. But I don't think Brandon Ingram's going to be in a hurry to get back from his injury.
Sure.
I mean, we saw this with Anthony Davis when they requested a trade. Clutch basically said, Anthony Davis is not going to play until you trade him. And then he played, twice? One of those wearing the "That's all, folks" t-shirt.
So it's easy when you're in a situation like New Orleans where the injuries have dictated the path that you need to take.
And then you can take care of everything else alongside it. Same thing with Philadelphia.
Right. The Portland conversation is interesting because I think, by most accounts, they've been more successful than people thought they were going to be going into the season.
2.5 games.
By a couple more wins.
Yeah.
And because we're just 20 in, Dan, 2 is a lot when you get out of 20. Now, extrapolate that out over the next couple of months. I think the conversation becomes more interesting. I have a crazy comparison to make.
Okay.
But at first, we're going to hear from our friends at Dick Hanna Subaru. Dan, did you hear that Dick Hanna Subaru is giving out Mount Hood Fusion passes?
I did, Joe.
Yeah. You get 2 passes, plus every new Subaru comes with a lifetime powertrain warranty.
Helpful.
Yeah, it's a perfect time to grab a Subaru and hit the slopes this winter. They do believe in ice.
Yeah, you hitting slopes?
I consider it. You know my issue? Getting to the mountain. I need
you need a Subaru?
A new Subaru from our friends at Dick Hanna.
A little Impreza action?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll tell you what.
My car won't make it.
You go up there. I will go with you. Battered and broken. I will go with you.
Ski party? Well, Tyree's got to come. Tyree wants to go on a ski party with him. By the way, Tyree's going to be back in a couple days. Night off for our friend here, so he'll be back.
He's been incredibly busy.
We miss you, Tyree.
So,
yes. Okay.
But I know, seriously.
Slopes?
I will get my big butt on a snowboard again with my repaired hips, and I will ride with you.
I just don't want to hurt my body anymore.
I mean,
turning 40 next year.
Yeah, well, welcome to the club. It's half the fun. Is nursing those injuries back with perhaps a frosty beverage down
a large cocoa with something else in it.
Yeah, you know.
Okay. So,
hey, Dick Hanna, let's
come on, Dick Hanna.
Sponsor a ski trip for us.
Our friends.
Hey, you know what? We do have some time off during
we do
All-Star break.
And All-Star break.
Just saying.
NBA Cup, a few games, which we're going to get to. We're going to break down the scenarios again because we know you're clamoring for it. But before we do.
Indeed.
DB Hooper. Now, this is not a style of play comparison.
Okay.
It is more of a spiritual comparison.
Okay. The religion of DB Hooper, I'm in.
Yes. Okay. The player that elicited the most glee from me over these past 10 years with the Portland Trail Blazers is Al Farouk Aminu.
Oh, God, yes.
He was
Adventures in dribbling?
Just a laugh a minute, no matter the outcome.
Can I do what I used to do when I used to be in half court?
Go ahead.
Because
you did that or the Benny Hill. It was one of the two.
It was one or the other. It was because it was always like, what's going to happen?
We don't know what's going to happen. And DB Hooper is much more in control of his basketball game than Al Farouk Aminu.
He at least gives the illusion of it.
Maybe that's what it is, Danny, because, and this is not a compliment or a shot. It's just my truth.
It just is.
It feels the exact same way as when we had Al Farouk Aminu.
No,
even though he is a much more competent scorer, Delano Banton. I always forgot his name. We call him DB Hooper so much. Delano Banton as opposed to Al Farouk Aminu. Like, I still have the same vibe that he gives off. Like, I don't know what's going to happen.
It's structured chaos.
He's going to the hoop. There's a 3 out of nowhere. Like, D.B. Hooper wakes up and says it's D.B. Hooper time.
Yes.
And I absolutely love that about him. Even when sometimes it comes at the detriment of the Portland Trailblazers, when it swings the other way and it's going good, it goes so good. And I just love this guy being on our team for this particular moment that we have.
No, it's very much he's a knuckleballer.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, you don't know where it's going to
Total
end
change
up.
of pace.
And it's just like I can only imagine trying to guard him. You know, I grew up with some of the guys that ended up playing professionally overseas, and you know, I remember being like, these guys are just different level athletes. You know, it's like this is like, but it was like you understood what was happening. You know what I mean? Like, you're just really fast. You're really shifty. I remember one guy, like 5'7", but had quite literally had a 48-inch vertical. Just one of the most insane athletes I've ever seen in my entire life. And his burst was just out of this world. And it was like, yeah, even before my knees went to tinder, I was never going to stay in front of you. Like, there's that's not Benton. It's all, you know, again, knuckleball. Like, you don't know it's the path of least resistance, and it just kind of tumbles.
So exciting.
Like, the ball gets all the way outside his body out here, then he brings it back, and somebody knocks it away, and he pulls it back. It's kind of funny. For those who don't know, Shamgod, he's a coach for the Dallas Mavericks. I was talking to him tonight, and Shamgod has a move called the Shamgod, where he pulls it across the body and you pull it back. And D.B. Hooper will like do that in a weird way. Like, the ball will get knocked away from him, but he'll snatch it back with like the opposite hand and then put it back between his legs, and then it's hezzy over the top Euro finish.
I meant to do all of this.
And he was
this
like,
was all part of the plan.
What was that? And you just don't know what's happening, but then it ends up and you're in the bucket and you're going, all right. And like that's kind of the D.B. Hooper experience. Like, the D.B. Hooper experience sounds like my cover band, which I'm not gonna lie, I might have to write that down for later. We're playing at a club near you.
It is just.
It's jazz.
It is. It's so. That's an incredible segue to what we have coming up in a moment. You know what? It's such a good segue. I'm just going to stop and let's go to the Blazer box. Check this out. This is how good. This is why he's nominated for Sportscaster of the Year. So this is Michael Thompson, Clay's dad, Blazer legend. I'm at the Jazz game today. First of all, just the punctuation, the intonation, it's all so amazing. If they're called the Jazz, then how come they don't play jazz when the players are warming up? They play hippity hoppity instead of jazz. Makes no sense, does it?
Michael Thompson is...
He might be the best Twitter follow. I'm going to make sure that we have his tweets on this show.
He's
multiple times every month. It's too good.
Michael Thompson?
I've not had the pleasure.
He is that tweet in real life.
He had a radio show in town for years with Mace. It was so good. Big man in the booth.
It is like, if you think I'm stream of consciousness, I can't hold a candle to that man.
All right, I got another one fired up because I kind of knew we were going to do this. Blazer box, Michael Thompson. So what y'all think of this? I literally wrote to In-N-Out begging them to add chicken and fish sandwiches to their menu. They're so good at burgers, and they'll be amazing at chicken and fish burgers too, right? And they wrote me back thanking me for the suggestion, but they said no. He did not post the note. I was really hoping to see a letter written out to NBA legend Michael Thompson, former number one pick.
To Mr. In-N-Out. Because that's how you know you addressed it to.
In-N-Out.
He 100% wrote it to Mr. In-N-Out.
Oh, it just makes me so happy. And a great suggestion. In-N-Out is a very good hamburger.
It's incredibly delicious.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's the food of my people. It'd be like me slandering Cougar Gold, okay? So
we can't have it.
Back off.
We can't have it. You can slander that football team all you want at this point. I'm done with them. Okay. Next game coming up in a couple of days. The Blazers are still alive to go to Las Vegas. How, you ask? How? Let's pull up the Blazer box and talk about it. Okay, so.
Hit me with that sweet, sweet math.
Here we go. The Blazers have to beat the Clippers. That's on Tuesday.
And that'll bring them to?
That'll bring them to 3-1.
Okay.
So if that happens and the Oklahoma City Thunder lose to Utah, that brings them to 2-2. Phoenix is playing San Antonio. One of those teams will win, one will lose, so one will go to 3-1, one will go to 2-2. So we don't have to worry about them. And then Dallas plays Memphis. So the simplest scenario is your Blazers win, the Thunder lose, the Mavericks lose. If those three things happen, your Portland Trailblazers advance to the knockout round in the NBA Cup. There are some fringe scenarios where if the Blazers beat the Clippers by, let's say, 30, they may have a chance to sneak in with the point differential. But essentially, because they're so far behind in point differential, they need those 3 outcomes to happen. And Danny, would there be anything more 2024, 2025 Portland Trailblazers than if those 2 things happen? The Mavericks and Thunder lose, and the Blazers win by, let's say, 2 points, and the Blazers advance to the knockout round with a negative point differential. Let's go.
I mean,
that's the best outcome.
Did you catch the final 10 seconds of Jazz Lakers tonight?
I saw that it was going around. What happened?
I would say with questionable coaching from Will Hardy.
Oh, not by podcaster?
No. The podcaster chief was fine.
Okay.
Will Hardy might have mailed that one in.
Oh.
Interesting to say the least.
Saving it for Tuesday?
Interesting to say the least.
So the Lakers were in Utah, and that was a tight game. So Sun Lakers won.
Yeah, they won literally by 1. The final was 199, if I'm not mistaken.
I hate this Lakers team.
Yeah, I mean there was. You know what? This is our show, so I can do this. I don't know if you saw this.
Stop you.
The Heat lost to the Raptors tonight.
Oh,
and not because I'm petty or anything like that, but Nikola Jovic, not Jokic, got a DNP. You know, that was a guy who the Miami Heat fans and media told me was another first-round pick. And no, I'm not going to let that go probably for at least another year because you're all in my mentions for 18 months.
Danny Marang.
Like we can get that segment sponsored. I can tell you that right now. But you did have some weird games tonight. You had another 119-116 game. The Rockets beat the Thunder.
Yeah.
The Rockets might be for real.
It feels like we've seen enough at this point. Like, they've beaten some real teams, and this has been sustained, and they're doing it the same way. It's not like these random nights. Like, they are putting it to good teams.
Yes. The Spurs beat the Kings tonight. They're now 11-9. The Clippers, who the Blazers will face on Tuesday, 126-122 over the Nuggets. They're now 13-9. Like, if you take a look at the standings in the Western Conference, we talked about this last game. Like, who in this group is for real and who's not? Like, if you kind of tier this out.
Yeah, let's pull up the Blazer box there, Danny. We got the Western Conference standings up right there.
It feels like Oklahoma City and Memphis are probably the 2 best teams in the West right now. I'd put them. You know,
is Edey back?
In and out.
Yeah,
but I mean, they don't have a shortage of people.
They don't have a shortage of anything. Right now.
They're the deepest team in the league.
Warriors kind of coming back to earth a little bit.
Yeah,
losing 4. Mavs starting to find it, winning 4, getting Luka back.
It's weird.
That helps.
The teams with the best players in the league and the Mavericks and Bucks getting on track.
And then kind of going down to the Blazers' opponent on Tuesday, the Clippers, 12-9, and I think they were probably considered to be a fringe play-in team, especially with the Kawhi situation going into the season.
But it turns out Norman Powell's going full nuclear, and it's like, okay.
It's so funny because they put a stat up basically showing the biggest points per game jump of players from last year to this year.
Is Norman number 1?
Norman's number 1 by a lot, but what's funny about that is the other 4 guys in the stat are all like 23.
Yeah,
and Norman's
it's all young
like,
guys making that big
I
stop.
hate all of you. This is what I am. Treat me like it. It's so good.
Look, when Norm was here, it was a player that I really liked.
We saw it.
And
it was just a weird fit with Dame and CJ.
Yeah, it was like, well, if you're going to trade for Norm, you need to trade CJ.
Right.
And we all know that wasn't going to happen. So, so Chauncey went out there and went.
Again, petty hour with Danny Marang.
There you go.
It's a deep cut, though.
But hey, Chauncey got irritated and said, fine, screw you. You're going to give me 4 guards. 4 guards on the floor at the same time. Dame, CJ, Anthony, Norm.
Thank you.
Go. And it was like,
chaos.
Norm Powell's playing power forward, I guess. So we'll figure that out. But, I mean, Phoenix is right there at 11-8. Denver, I believe Jokic came back. Did he come back tonight? Because he had paternity leave.
Yeah.
Which, good for him. Awesome. But the Spurs might be for real. Wemby had another triple-double tonight, his 3rd of his career already.
Well, it's interesting. And then you go below 10 and you look at Minnesota and Sacramento, 2 teams that were expected to be in. I mean, Minnesota was expected to be a Western Conference Finals contender. And
then they decided to bring in a guy that could not fit worse.
They just blew it up.
I still can't believe both teams made that trade. Now, it's starting to work out for the Knicks.
Didn't they score like 150 the other night or something crazy?
Their offense has been rolling. Now,
Tibbs, offensive genius. We've all said it.
Of course. But they're very much like the Celtics. They're like Celtics light in the sense that they're not very deep. And yes, they have 5 really good starters.
Yeah.
But the second somebody gets hurt, they're in trouble, right? And you're just like, thin team, Tom Thibodeau playing 40 minutes a night, that won't be a problem at all, right? It's like, ugh. And then but the Kings and the Timberwolves, it's vibes. Like that.
It feels off.
It is like, I mean,
feels weird.
I don't think Dante DiVincenzo could want to be there any less.
I thought he was going to have the Norman Powell type attitude change where it's like, screw everybody, I'm going to show you what I can do. But it's really materialized and you're just like,
it's what happens when you move from New York to Minnesota.
That's not an upgrade?
Not.
Nightlife's a little different.
It's a little bit different
in the Twin Cities.
I think a Tuesday night in Minneapolis, St. Paul is not quite as popping as
not as fun
in Pickaborough. It's kind of but the Blazers are in a position right now at 8-13 where they're a game and a half, 2 games as we're wrapping up tonight. You take a look at the projection for them; they're projected to win 23 games right now.
Yeah,
which is right where everybody picked them,
where they thought.
So Washington is projected to win 8.8 games.
Well, that's what happens when you don't win a game in an entire month. Thank you so much for joining us on the Rip City Wrap-Up. Tyree will be back on Tuesday. That game tips off at 7:30 in Los Angeles. We will have a shorter show, but we're going to be high on fun.
Yeah, and hopefully I'll have a voice.
You'll have a voice.
Yeah, we'll see.
Thanks for watching. We love you all so much.
Bye.